Welcome, everybody, football guys. Sean O'Connell, Geoff Schwartz. Lots to discuss. The NFL draft, round one in the books, round two, round three, four, five, six, seven, all still to come. Some big news, at least historically, in college football that we can get to. There's a lot going on for it being late April. Geoff Schwartz, first round in the books. What'd you think?
Man, I get out of shape when it comes to staying up late to watch sports events in the football offseason, Sean. Like regular season football, I'm ready to go. Get to the offseason last night, 11:30 at night. Panthers make a last trade of the day and get a wide receiver. I thought the draft, for as much as we talk every year about the craziness that can happen, it mostly went chalk. The teams that needed quarterbacks took quarterbacks. The team that needed offensive linemen took offensive linemen. The teams that needed cornerbacks took corners. And the only true surprise was what happened with Atlanta and Michael Penix. Otherwise, people talk about Bo Nix going to the Broncos at 12 and how high that was. And I agree. I would not have taken him that high. But think about the Broncos, Sean. They have no choice. They could not come out of this draft without a quarterback. They had Jared Stidham, Zach Wilson, and Ben DiNucci in their locker room. I think Bo Nix is going to be the next Drew Brees, which I know Sean Payne is hoping? No, I don't. But they also couldn't go with nobody, And that's why Bo Nix was drafted 12. The Falcons did not have to draft Penix at 8. They could have waited. They could have traded back. Like that, they're two different situations. So I think we saw 6 quarterbacks in top 12, Sean. The Knicks wasn't surprising once the other quarterbacks were gone, but the surprise was obviously what happened with Atlanta and Michael Penix.
So I've heard every competing opinion on whether or not this was a good move for Atlanta, whether this was just absolute malpractice and mismanagement. People are dissecting the interaction between GM and owner in the war room, like all of it. Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, tell me the Geoff Schwartz perspective on drafting a quarterback in the first round after you've committed a bunch of guaranteed money to a veteran QB who is 35 years old coming off a major surgery.
It's just bad process, right, Sean? You might end up with the great results, but the process is really bad and it's broken. And it's a process that bad football teams do. The Falcons just signed Cousins, a 35-year-old quarterback coming off an injury, to basically a 2-year guaranteed contract for $100 million, plus some dead cap money into year 3. And when you sign a quarterback like that, you sign him with the acknowledgement of he's our franchise guy, and we're making a push over the next 2 or 3 years to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. And so all your resources have to be allocated to winning a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. That includes the 8th overall pick, getting yourself the top pass rusher in the draft, which Atlanta desperately needs. Or even if they got Roman Dunes that you'd be like, okay, makes sense, man. Just more weapons for Cousins. Instead, they took a quarterback who they openly admit, Sean, I don't know, well, 3 or 4 years. Like, we hope to have him play. Like, what? Penix is 24. He's 23 now, but 24 next week. So you're telling me that you'd use the 8th pick overall on a quarterback you don't expect to play till he's 26 years old? And even then, what if Cousins plays well for 2 years? You're not really trading Cousins at that point. No one's taking on a 37-year-old who's making $50 million a year. You're going to keep Kirk Cousins. And so the process is just bad, Sean. The process is bad. They didn't tell Cousins they were even doing this. You just paid the guy all this money. He's your guy. Wow. And all of a sudden, now you're not. Now he's not your guy. And so it's bad process. Sean, Cousins, week 1, those 3 interceptions. Guess what we have to hear about? When's Michael Penix going to play? When's Michael Penix going to play? Again, bad process. Michael Penix is a quarterback who I'm not sure is going to be good in the NFL. I have my doubts about him. And so he's not going to get better without taking reps. And so now he's not getting reps. I don't understand. I get what the Falcons have said. Some of it's been asinine. Oh, we didn't think we'd draft this high again, so we took the quarterback. What? Have you done nothing between the time you were hired and the time you signed Cousins that just found out who Michael Penix was? Sean, I don't understand the reasoning behind this. No matter how many times people will try to say the reasoning, it does not make practical sense.
This is a pick that is rooted in buyer's remorse. Before you've even seen Cousins take a snap for your franchise, This is somebody within the building being convinced that, hey, we can't rely on this guy. I mean, even at his very, very best, he has never really won anything. He hasn't really pushed a team over the hump. He's not really up there in the conversation as a producer, as a leader, as an anything that the elite quarterbacks in the NFL are. Like, this is a pick that is totally evidence. Somebody in that building convinced GM, coach, owner, the brain trust that, look, man, Cousins ain't it. Now, we made a mistake in offering him all that guaranteed money. We're going to have to eat that. We're going to have to take the hit, but we have to be ready for mediocrity because he's going to get us to at least mediocrity. He'll get us to average or maybe slightly above average, but we're not going to compete for a Super Bowl with him.
Right.
We're not going to be a championship caliber team. We probably won't even win our division with this guy at the helm. We will be in a better draft position, though, if we're believing the logic that's been kind of fed out of the organization now. So, it's going to be harder to draft his replacement. Let's do that now. Shouldn't have given him that money. Let's do it now. And that, by the way, having that kind of buyer's remorse months after you sign the guaranteed deal is that malpractice I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That's a fireable offense. That's something – this whole thing – unless it works out perfectly, is going to lose somebody their job. The fact that you've got the best case scenario is Jordan Love got drafted, sat around behind Aaron Rodgers, and ended up being a huge asset for the Packers when it was finally his turn. That's your best case scenario in Atlanta. I'm hopeful for Atlanta's sake that things work out that way. I'm a non-believer in Kirk Cousins of the highest order. I mean, I've watched this guy cash these checks. I mean, his agent is one of the best in the business.
Yeah, he was my agent as a player. I had two agents as a player, Mike and Derek Gilmore. So, Mike's he's Hall of Fame level with the way he's done the Cousins contracts.
It's absolutely spectacular. And you look at the fallout that now Kirk Cousins has to answer questions about, Michael Penix has to answer questions about, their relationship is going to be scrutinized. You've got all this incredible offensive talent, young offensive weapons that are in that locker room that are now going to be asked, hey, Bijan Robinson, who would you rather be taking snaps for this team? Hey, Drake London, who do you want to catch the ball from? Hey, Kyle Pitts, who do you want to catch the ball from? It's unfair to both of these quarterbacks, and it is a mistake. I don't think a healthy Michael Penix is overdrafted at 8. I don't. I think that at his very best, that's a guy that can justify that draft pick given what was already taken in front of you. The 1, 2, 3, you'd rather have any of those guys. But if Penix is where you're going to go there, fine. I'm okay with it. But just doing so after you've already committed to a guy, that's where the mistake happened. You should not have committed those kind of resources to Kirk Cousins if your plan was to draft a quarterback, or if you even had a twinge in your mind, if there was a twinkle in your eye about the fact that you might use this first-round draft pick on a quarterback, you should have just done what the Denver Broncos did. You should have cleared space. You should have made room.
Yeah.
You should have tried to boost your backup quarterback room, and then you should have said, okay, now we're drafting the future.
Yeah. And two, this is not unfair to Penix. He can be paid a lot of money, but it's not going to help his career, Sean. The offense he's going to is not conducive to what I think Michael Penix is or will be in the NFL, and he's not going to play for 2 years. People have said, you said, I'm not saying that this is what you believe, but you mentioned the idea that that this is a Jordan Love Packer situation. Well, a couple of things here, right? Aaron Rodgers threatened to retire every year. Okay. So the Packers drafted a replacement for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was also in the MVP every season and was signing 1-year deals. So he was at the point where it was very clear he was about to move on. And Love was the 23rd pick or 24th pick, not the 8th pick, right?
Right.
This is what Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith. Is it? Where were the Chiefs at versus where are the Falcons right now? Again, the Chiefs had a quarterback that you can move off of. Boom, he was gone. He went to Washington, right? You can't move off of Cousins after a year. If you do, you're going to have like a $65 million cap hit. Sure, Michael Penix is cheap. And then lastly, the reason why it's so important to surround a young quarterback with talent, besides obviously help him be a good quarterback, is you have this short window, 3 years really, where a quarterback is super cheap relative to the success on the field. Because after year 3, they're going to get paid. Maybe you make it tough after year 4. So you have 3 years of cost-controlled, cheap contract. Well, if you don't start playing Michael Penix to year 3, Sean, at the end of year 3, you have to pick up your year 5 option. So, how do you even know? Look at Jordan Love this year. Played, first 8 games, blah. Next 8 games, 9 games now, much better. But they already has contract situation figured out. Would the Packers this year, after that season, pay him all this money, like $100 million, whatever, the Burrow deal, $300 million, $40 million? No. And so it's not the right process. Did you see the general manager talking to Arthur Blank, the owner? It looked like Arthur Blank was not happy with this draft pick.
That's what I mean. Like you've put yourself as a franchise in this situation where now it's Hard Knocks drama. It's soap opera. It's YouTube clips and your fan base having to try and lip read on what that interaction actually was, right? And then, like I said already, like I alluded to already, when training camp opens, most of the conversation, at least in the early goings, is going to center around this drama, not about where the offense is, not about where Kirk Cousins is and his recovery, not about how chemistry on the team is coming together. Well, it might be about that because of a potentially fractured locker room, but you get my point. You're now distracting from the goal of improving your team, winning games. That's why you drafted this quarterback. That's why you signed the veteran quarterback beforehand. Making them coexist with one another is actually going to be a little bit more difficult than I think a lot of people give credit to. They'll both be professionals about it. Kirk Cousins might even become friendly with Michael Penix Jr., mentor him. We might get this happy kumbaya story down the line. But at the organizational level, everybody in the building is going to be asked about this. And people on the defense, by the way, are going to be asked, hey, would you have liked to have seen that pass rush need addressed when no defensive players were taken off the board in the top 15 picks? You could have had any defensive player you wanted at number 8. Anybody. You could have moved back. You could have stockpiled some more assets and still had any defensive player you wanted. Leatu Latu didn't go till 16. Could have had him.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Yeah. You brought up something really interesting about the locker room dynamic. So Cousins' job is to win football games for the Falcons. His job is not to mentor Michael Penix. And if he does it along the way, that is extra. I know Patrick Mahomes will give Alex Smith credit for his mentorship. Alex Smith, by the way, deflects all of that. Because I don't think Alex Smith went out of his way to mentor. He just helped when he asked questions. And that's really what a lot of quarterbacks do. They and quarterbacks have said, Eli said this, I think Big Ben said this at one point, I'm not here to be a mentor. But if they ask me questions or try to learn from me, I will help them out. And there's a difference, right? Because a mentor, in my opinion, is you go to someone and say, hey, man, I will help you out, right? Which happened to me. Jordan Gross is like, hey, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to take you under my wing, help you out. Versus just asking him questions on my own. So Cousins is probably not going to be likely to help out Michael Penix. If he asks for help, they're also different football players. Like they're not the same quarterback. And so you hey man, how do I get better at throwing this throw? Well, you make that throw better than me anyways, or vice versa, right? And it's not going to go well. We all know this is not going to go well. I do feel bad for Penix, Sean, because he's in a bad situation. It's not a great situation for him. Let's say he gets to year 3 and they start him. Well, have you paid Drake London by now? Because you're going to have to pay him. Mm-hmm. Kyle Pitts will want a new deal by then. Have you paid your guys on defense by then? It's a lot of maybes. Instead of just saying, you know what, we'll trade back, or we'll take Dallas Turner or Latu immediately. I was, by the way, glad Latu went first defensive player taken, because to me, he's the best pass rusher in this class, Sean. It's not even actually close. And I get the medicals are a concern, but if you just want a pass rusher, that's your guy. He's the best pass rusher in this class. And for weeks, we talked about Dallas Turner and Byron Murphy last week or so. And the Colts, I believe, at 15 drafted him. They just drafted the best pass rusher. Like, it's not a hard evaluation. The medical isn't concerned. The neck, he was medically retired, then went to UCLA and played 2 years. So that's a good fit, I think, for what the Colts need. But back to Penix, it's not going to work out. Also, again, just my personal opinion, I don't think he's going to be great in the NFL anyways. So drafting someone 8 overall would be a backup. I don't think it's going to be very, very good. That's my obviously opinion about this. Makes me, again, question the decision for the Atlanta to do this.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question for you. Obviously, I knew we'd start here with Michael Penix Jr. because that is the most interesting tidbit and takeaway from the first round. 6 first-round quarterbacks, historically and percentage-wise, we can probably guess that 4 of these guys are going to be a miss. 2 of them, hopefully, will hit. 1 might be an epic bust. You just never know. But, the science of the draft tells you that it's not actually a science. So, talking about the way that this is played out in the first round, 6 first-round quarterback picks, who do you feel most confident is going to have a major impact at the NFL level?
Caleb Williams. Sean, not only is he talented, he goes to the best situation. We starting to understand this idea that, and it's always been this way, but we've sort of articulated more lately, that fit matters more than we like to talk about. And Caleb Williams goes to a situation where they have a young emerging offensive line. They got Swift, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and now Rome Odunze, and a top 10 defense. Like, he's going to a great spot. I like their offense coordinator hiring Shane Waldron from the Seahawks. Jaden Daniels is going to an okay spot in Washington. Drake May in New England has no help right now. JJ McCarthy with the Vikings should be in a good situation. Penix won't play, and I think Bo Nix, to our point, is just going to be the best good. So to me, it's Caleb Williams 1. The question is finding who that 1B or 2 might be, and I don't know right now. I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels, but Washington just historically is Washington, like not great, at making sure quarterbacks develop.
They're 0 for 14 in the last 10 years or so, right? So going to be tough to lend a lot of credence to the idea that he can end up being a franchise quarterback, and not because of the lack of skill. I heard, some reactions. People are still concerned. People who didn't watch him play in college are still concerned about his physical stature, about how sort of lean he is.
Daniels?
I think that we can calm those talks now. This is not his freshman year.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's Jared Goff, right? They're both like tall, skinny guys. They're quarterbacks who've had success with that. So remove Michael Penix Jr. because we already talked about him a lot. That leaves 5 first-round quarterbacks. You told me that Caleb Williams is the guy you're most confident in. If you had to bet on a bust among these, bet on a guy who's just like, hey, sorry, you're in the wrong situation. It's not going to work out for you. This is going to be a miss.
Well, it's Drake May in New England. There's nothing around him right now. Which again, you need to have pieces to typically succeed, Sean, and there's nothing around him right now. McCarthy, I don't know if it's going to be a bust, but I just don't think he's going to be good in the NFL. Again, a lot of this has to go by like how you feel about them, your pre-draft, right? Like, how do you feel about someone before the draft? And so to me, it probably is Drake May, not because I think he's going to be terrible, but just because I think that he's in a situation that's not as good as everyone else.
Fair enough. Outside of the quarterback picture, the pick that jumped out to you, the thing you liked best, the guaranteed win, I think I know where you're going to go with something like this, but hit me.
You think I'm going to go Chiefs? Is that what you think?
No, I think you're going to go Chargers.
Well, so the Chargers went alt with 5 overall. So interesting about this decision, right, Sean? This is a fun topic about the value of a draft board, right? So the Chargers at 5 took Joe Alt, the big left tackle. Probably will play right tackle because Rashawn Slater is at left tackle there, an All Pro at left tackle. I think All will be fine at right tackle. That's not a problem. They took him over Malik Neighbors, wide receiver who went to the Giants, or they didn't trade back either. And Charger fans are like, oh, we need help for Justin Herbert. You absolutely do, Sean. Absolutely do. But look at where the draft is now and think about the players that are available now. You're not Joe Alt plus second round wide receiver is far better than Malik Neighbors and second round offensive tackle. Like the drop off from offensive tackle in the first round. I even saw Daniel Jeremiah tweet about this before we came on. He's like, all 8 of my tackles are gone. Like you could get maybe like Paul from Houston, but he's not Joe Alt. And yet at wide receiver right now, you have the ability. Now, these guys might be gone, right? Like Ladd McConkey will be gone. Mitchell will be gone. But Keon Coleman will be there. The Washington guys will be there. Troy Franklin will be there. Like these guys will be there. Like they'll be like Joe Alt plus Troy Franklin is better than Malik Neighbors plus whatever they would have drafted at offensive tackle now. And that's what we have to think about the draft sometimes,
Kingsley,
right, guys?
Sumataya.
Yeah. Like you have to think about the draft that way. And if you're Harbaugh, remember with the Niners, he won with an outstanding offensive line, right? Yes. Anthony Davis, Mike Iupati, Joe Staley, who was a center? Goodwin was a center, I think, during that time. Adam Snyder, Oregon grad, was on the offensive line at that time. He goes to Michigan. Joe Moore winning offensive line 2 years in a row. Like that's when he broke through, right? And now to think he's not going to make sure Herbert has 2 bookend offensive tackles, Sean, for the rest of his career, essentially. So it made a lot of sense. I actually thought the offensive line draft picks in this draft were pretty good. I mean, you look at Olu Fashanu going to the Jets, they have 2 aging tackles in Moses and Tyron Smith. Latham, just like the Titans need any offensive line help that they can get. Fuaga, the Saints needed a right tackle, done. Fuaga. Mims at Georgia, went to Cincinnati. They love big offensive linemen. Fatanu, I love Fatanu from Washington. Steelers, great fit, just personality-wise, right? Morgan and what he can do in different positions with the Packers, and the Bucs needed a center guard, and they got it with Graham Barton. He might even play right tackle at some point. I just thought these were home runs, man. These teams did a great job of offensive line.
Yeah, it was look, this early round, this first round, further indication of exactly where the NFL is going, where the priorities of teams are. Quarterbacks, offensive tackles to protect the quarterbacks, wide receivers for the quarterbacks to throw to, and the teams that did bother to look elsewhere went with guys that can affect the quarterback by pass rushing him. I mean, that's what this looked like.
Yeah.
There were a couple corners obviously taken, and that, again, is all about the passing game. If you're an inside linebacker, if you're a running back, if you're an interior offensive lineman, you're looking at the first round and just saying, that's for other people who play different positions right now. That my job is important, but this is a passing league, and the sport itself is becoming more and more pass-oriented, and the first round, to nobody's surprise, was further indication of that.
Yeah, look, it is also this is the draft for that, though, right? Like, I saw a way too early mock draft for next year, and there's like 3 offensive linemen in the first round. Like it's well, actually there's 4. We're going to finish it now. There's Calvin Banks at Texas, Oregon's left tackle Connery, and both LSU tackles. That's it. There were 8 offensive linemen drafted in the first round yesterday. There's going to be, I think, at least 4 or 5, 6 drafted early in the second round. Next year's draft class is not that. By the way, guy we've talked about, like, Travis Hunter will be the first pick in the draft next year, I think. He's going to be the first pick in the draft.
I mean, if he can stay healthy, Travis Hunter's going to win a Heisman Trophy and be the first pick in the draft.
They're already mocking. I saw him second overall in a mock draft. I've seen one. I saw one mock draft list him at wide receiver, one list him at corner, both going second overall. Pretty good football player.
You're just a really good football player. If people think you can be a top 5 pick at multiple positions.
So what was your favorite draft pick outside of any of these offensive linemen?
Look, I'm a Niners guy, so I love the fact that they went and got Pearsall with all the drama that's happening with Brandon Ayuk. I think that's a really good move. You've got yourself a guy that played against Brock Purdy in high school, which is interesting.
Wow.
Little tidbit there.
Okay.
And Pearsall mentioned that Purdy hung like 70 on him in that game, so he's excited to now be on the right side of that. I think the Chiefs, and I don't want to see the rich get richer, but I think the Chiefs getting the fastest guy in this draft. They've got like 3 of the fastest dudes in the NFL on their roster, even after losing Cheetah. That's absolutely insane. Yeah. But it's, I think, more mastery of what they've put together in these last few years. X-Worthy with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and as long as Kelsey can hang around, like, that's just a nightmare for everybody else.
It is. They jumped the Bills, which is funny because the Bills famously traded the pick away to they could draft Mahomes at 10. The Bills must really love someone that they think they could get today, right? Because they traded out of the first round twice. Yeah, look, Andy Reid likes interchangeable parts at wide receiver, Sean. And you look at who they have with Rashee Rice and now and Hollywood Brown and now Worthy. They're very fast and they can all interchangeably play along the offense at any point.
And by the way, none of them has to be the best pass catcher on the team because of Kelsey, which really changes that dynamic very significantly.
And the thing they miss the most about their offense is not Tyreek Hill. It's the speed of Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
The speed of him being able to run down the middle of the field and pull safeties out. Well, at the minimum, if Worthy is not going to be throwing the ball, Sean, he will run as hard and as fast as through the middle of a defense that'll pull defenders deep and leave those pockets for Travis Kelsey and Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown. And remember, Rashee Rice will be suspended at some point this year, right?
Because of excessive speed.
Yes. I saw a tweet that no one was seriously injured, so maybe it was like the speed of the Chiefs wide receiver room is like, it was like, Hollywood Brown, 21 miles an hour, Xavier Worthy, 23, Rashee Rice, 119.
Oh.
But he's going to be suspended. I mean, it's on camera. Like, he will be suspended. So having a guy like Xavier Worthy this year is going to be important.
Another cruel irony, as people who've listened to us know, that we spent a lot of time in the Pac-12 and covering the Pac-12 conference. In the year that the Pac-12 conference died, of course, its best first-round draft turnout since the league was established as a 12-team league, and rivaling, by the way, even the years when USC was an absolute machine in the past. 8 first-round draft picks from the Pac-12 conference. A third of your first round is coming from a conference that no longer exists. I mean, Arizona had a first-round tackle. That it's the twisting of the knife that continues to happen for people who, like, long ago patted down the final shovelfuls of dirt over top of that Pac-12 grave, and I consider myself among them. And then you see something like this, and you're just like, yeah, right when it was getting good, the coaching in the league was amazing, the recruiting because of some of the creativity of name, image, and likeness, and now you have a dead league providing this kind of talent, which next year it wouldn't be that way necessarily, but also, like you said, next year you're going to see Shedeur Sanders potentially as a first-round draft pick. You and I already talked about Travis Hunter. Those guys were Pac-12 players for a time. It's ugly, man. It sucks.
Yeah. And you look at even the guys that Utah would have had in the draft this upcoming season too, right? And we know USC has guys and Oregon has guys. And it's not as quarterback top heavy this year as it would have been last year. But I mean, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter will bring a lot of attention next year. And the Presidents couldn't get a deal done. I mean, again, I get why they jumped. I get it all. But it was not great leadership. It's that simple, right? Like the best conferences and best businesses run always are forward looking. And the Pac-12 always felt like they were looking backwards to nostalgia, and everyone's, I mean, Sean, remember the dumb alliance they had? Like, while this alliance happened, the Big Ten was like backstabbing them. Like, it was like a Dwight Schrute alliance. It's not a real thing.
Do you remember how just confident and to the point of smugness when it was just like, so what does it say on paper? What does it say on paper? We didn't have to get anything on. We looked each other in the eye and we shook hands. So there's nothing on paper here between these leagues because we're all
Adults.
invested in one another's, best outcomes. And it's just like, wait, what? You didn't create a scheduling agreement. You didn't do any kind of revenue sharing. There's nothing here that says that you are actually linked. That's not an alliance. That's like when when I tell you, hey, Geoff, you know what? I'm going to come to Charlotte. I'm going to come see you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
There was an air handshake agreement. Yeah.
It's just like, it was disingenuous.
Correct.
From the power dynamic from the beginning was just like, yeah. No, we're all in the same boat here. Ooh, the big, mean, scary SEC. Gotta make sure that they don't swallow us all. Meanwhile, the Big Ten's just like, you know what? We're actually pretty close to being the SEC. So let's just put ourselves in a position where we are on the right side of the fence.
This is a take I've had about. I like watching Westerns. I love the Western movies. They're fantastic.
Okay.
I'm always curious about how real they basically, how real life was in those movies at that time period, because the handshake agreements in those movies always fascinate me. I'm like, how do you honor those agreements? Like, really? Like, you might not see that person for 7 more years. You honoring that handshake agreement you made with them.
They have virtually no way of contacting you because you're in Colorado and they're going to disappear off into Southern California, and you still feel honor bound.
Yeah, but by a handshake agreement that you made passing through a small mining town on the way to
man's only good as his word.
I just find it so like. So the West to me, the Westerns, like the idea too in Westerns about just like life and death. And I assume it wasn't this way. Maybe it was. I mean, obviously the diseases and whatnot, but just the men would just like shoot each other over stuff, and then they would hang each other, like no trial. It was just like, it fascinates me. Like just the culture back then,
dude, you know, what's crazy is
you also lived to like 22.
Somebody like you, right? You roll into some Western town. If you know how to shoot, the rest of us are screwed. It was basically gladiator days.
But the problem is I couldn't get on the horse. Like which is probably less scary.
You'd have been the guy with the team of draft horses and riding the wagon.
Big hoss. With the big hoss with the but just the Western, it just fascinates me. And so, but the handshake agreement thing just brought to my attention, it just always handshake agreements, and never ends up happening.
I'm not an honorable man, obviously, because I think about in movies, right? There's those handshake agreements. There's like oh, you saved my life. Now I owe you my life, and I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I'll do anything for you. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And it's just like, nah, I'd have just been like, hey, man, thanks.
Yeah.
You really saved my skin over there. I'm going home. See you later.
I'm out of here. As I'm scrolling through social media quickly before we get to the Reggie Bush Heisman topic, which we talked about for many, many years now, I am a sucker for these like welcome to the organization videos, where they have like the new player get on the private plane and show up, and like everyone's just so excited to see them. Hey. I had it happen today with the Panthers. Their draft pick was in the building. I was doing some stuff with them today, and man, like it is cool. I'm so excited for these players and these families. It's awesome.
I just experienced that on a organizational level because people know the NHL is now coming to Salt Lake City, where I live, right? We had a welcome party down at the Delta Center where they're going to be playing, at least for the first couple of seasons. The players for the Arizona Coyotes were told basically a week ago, hey, the sale is going through. Our team's going to be in Utah. Most of you have never even been to Utah, but that's where you're going to be. We're really excited about this. You got to try and get excited about it too. And having talked with people close to the organization, one person who's in the organization on like not the coach or player level, but on like an administrator level, it was not necessarily a universally positive reception when the announcement was first made, because there's a lot of wondering, there's a lot of like uncertainty. The Phoenix Metro, whether you're excited about hockey down there or not, like it's a pretty cool place to live. And there were a lot of people in the building that were just like, oh, man, Salt Lake City, really? And then, Geoff,
I saw
They
it.
had the welcome, and you probably saw the stuff because I'm sure you
I-
get leaks from my algorithm. Like, people went to the airport and met the team. There were thousands of folks lined up outside
Yeah.
of the arena before, like an hour before they were even going to be in there for a press conference,
Yeah.
not for anything. They weren't going to perform. And the players, you could see the players that were like, oh shit, this is crazy. Like, we didn't get this in
Arizona.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
We didn't get there are 29,000 season ticket deposits for the hockey right now in a 17,000 seat arena.
And most likely an arena that's built smaller eventually for
Exactly.
hockey.
And by the way, that's not going to stay because you're going to have actual sticker shock when
Correct.
the deposit is just like, hey, this
PSL,
deposit is
yeah.
going to be applied to your $8,000 season ticket package, and people will be like, oh, okay, never mind. But this is a town with very, very little hockey infrastructure. There's no youth hockey leagues here, but we got to see it on an organizational level. That sucker feeling you have for the welcome video of this player realizing his dream, and he gets to show up in the private plane, and he's a San Francisco 49er, he's a Dallas Cowboy, or he's a Carolina Panther. I got to see it happen with 15 dudes, and they brought their wives, and they brought the GM, they brought the coach. It was pretty neat.
So the thing that I liked the best from those videos, so when you're doing a media thing and you're not licensed to wear the gear, and you have to just wear a generic shirt that says like Kansas City.
Yes.
The players wearing like a Utah shirt, like
because there's no anything else. There's no name.
There's no name. It was very. Besides that, it was very professional. But it did look like an AAU team. It just showed up to a game with unlicensed gear.
NHL in Utah. Okay, that's what it's called right now.
The Salt Lake City Iguanas.
Dude, I have put way too much mental energy
into
trying to figure this out.
It's the most you've ever tweeted about anything in your life.
I'm just like deeply emotionally invested in trying to figure out what this team is going to be called, because Geoff, I'm going to buy season tickets, or I'm going to at least split season tickets, and I'm going to buy gear, and I'm going to raise my girls like going to hockey games.
You got to split the tickets. There's 42 games, right? 41 games. Yeah.
So I'll split a ticket package with a couple of my buddies from the gym,
smart,
probably. And like, I don't want to be sitting there going like, go Blizzard, which is the leader in the clubhouse. Go Utah Yetis. What? There's no Yetis in Utah.
Do you want it to be Utah or Salt Lake City?
Well, it's already been determined it's going to be Utah. It should be Salt Lake, because Salt Lake has to like do the tax benefit or the tax supplementation and all that stuff. It should be Salt Lake. Salt Lake is better, rolls off the tongue more of the names, but they've already decided that when I think the legislature passed the resolution that the downtown revitalization, they would get funding. They had one of the little subheadings in there was it had to be called a Utah team. So everyone in Utah felt like they were included, which is the corniest thing in the world. But I just want it to be a good name. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
We are not. Let's get to Reggie Bush. So
let's get to Reggie Bush. Okay, you and I covered the Pac-12 for a long time. You obviously played at not a Pac-12 school. It was the Pac-10 at the time. I played at a school that eventually became part of the Pac-12. USC, during my college career, during my time, and during yours, was the gold standard of West Coast football, of football in general. It was the professional team, the professional football team of LA at the time. They didn't have the Chargers. They didn't have the Rams. It was a gathering place for celebrities. It was the greatest show in college football. And this was pre-social media era. This was pre-TikTok. This was pre a lot of the things that now we rely on to feed us content. They were a content machine. And the golden shining star of all of that was Reggie Bush, the best player in college football, Heisman Trophy winner. And obviously, they took his Heisman away because he received improper benefits that now are bare minimum requirements to get a player of Reggie Bush's caliber to consider your school. Not to come to your school, but to consider your school. Reinstated by the Heisman Trust as a Heisman Trophy winner. He's been given the trophy back.
All right. To add on to your point about Reggie Bush, the best college player I've ever seen. And you go watch his highlights against Oregon when I was there. It was incredible. Even kids now, Sean, relate to his highlights because they're on YouTube and they know who he is. Like that's the power. We've talked about this in our show. Like, who's the one guy that so-and-so school could bring back and everyone would know who that. I mean, it's Reggie Bush, right? Every answer. The question becomes, should they have given back his Heisman? We've talked about this a lot. I think we both agree, you correct me if I'm wrong, that the idea of retroactively going back and changing your ruling because of what period we are in now is probably bad business. Okay. But in a specific instance of Reggie Bush, I think they should give him back the Heisman. It was taken from him really for things he didn't really do anything. It was his parents, maybe allegedly, like weren't even sure what the details really are.
Well, okay.
And like I don't think baseball should go back and reinstate Pete Rose. They should do it. I think they should do it anyways, not because gambling's legal now. I think the right thing to do in this situation was give him back his Heisman. I also wonder how much the Heisman's tweet about OJ played a role in like needing to have some good pub here, because that tweet was so bad, Sean. It was so bad that I don't actually think that's why it happened, but it was a very bad tweet. So I'm kind of conflicted, right? Because I don't know they should go back and undo every violation that ever happened because now NIL is allowed.
Right.
But in this specific case, I feel like it was appropriate to do this.
Well, I'm in the exact same boat as you, which is kind of annoying from a conversational standpoint, but you broke the rules that existed at the time, and you probably did so knowingly. And there were 7 other guys on your team that were doing the same thing, and you're the one that got caught. And that's unfortunate. I don't think you should have taken the Heisman Trophy away from him in the first place.
Correct.
Because the Heisman Trophy, what it's decorating, what it's telling you, is not that this person, even though in the bylaws, the subheadings for the voters, it says, like character is supposed to be part of it. Do they represent what the Heisman Trophy Trust wants it to represent? Fine. We know that most of those voters have one criteria and one criteria only. Is this person the best player in college football? And the answer during Reggie Bush's prime at USC was unequivocally, absolutely, undoubtedly yes.
Right.
He was the best player in college football. I don't care if he was getting improper burritos. I don't care if his parents got a condo and somebody got a job. I don't care if Lendale White was getting $100,000 bags of cash in his dorm room. I don't care if Cam Newton had $300,000 given to him. I don't care if Shaquille O'Neal's character on Blue Chips was given money. Like, we know that these things have existed. I've sat in rooms with guys who were playing college football in the 1980s who were like, yeah, we were getting paid. Yeah. We've known this. It's the worst kept secret in the world. And the fact that the Heisman Trophy Trust and the fact that the NCAA, like, hey, we got to make an example out of this Reggie Bush character. Like, there's been a lot of worse things that have happened in and around college football. There's been guys who've had DUIs and killed people. There's been people who've been caught up in actual crime, domestic violence issues. And Reggie Bush took money and took benefits that hundreds of other players, thousands of other players were taking. Was it against the rules? Yes. Should we punish things that are against the rules? I guess, we should. But telling everyone we actually don't want him to be recognized as the best player in college football, even though he was, I know he was, every coach, player, mom, dad, sister, brother, everyone in the world knows he was. We're going to pretend that wasn't true because somebody got a condo and we don't like that. Yeah. That was a mistake. And trying to correct this mistake now, I think, is probably the right thing to do. More importantly, and what I'm more enthusiastic about, is now Reggie gets to benefit
Absolutely.
in the way that he's supposed to have been benefiting for the last 20 years, right? He gets to be part of the Heisman House commercial campaign. He gets to be a guy, and this has already happened, right? But he gets to be a guy that is welcome back on the USC campus, that is shaking hands and kissing babies and their NIL collective agreement things. He's going to be a guy that you're going to see on television sets. He's going to be on the panels for the rest of his life, because he is not just the best player that year in college football. He's one of the greatest college football players in history.
Yeah.
Those 2 seasons, especially his final 2 years at USC, it was magic. And I hated watching it because I'm not a USC fan, but you had to acknowledge it.
I mean, that Fresno State game, I think, is still the best game I've ever watched of a college football player, individual performance of a college football player. And look, the crimes that he committed, Sean, did not at all affect his play on the field, which is your point, right? Like, and I'm not even sure it affected his recruitment to USC. I could go back and look at who else was after him, but USC was the best team in the country. They got every kid they ever wanted from Southern California. It wasn't like they were trying to, like they needed extra money to get Bush to show up. And wasn't it about an agent giving them money? Like it wasn't USC, right? Or was it through the running back? The running back coach, I remember, it's been a while. He sued USC. I think he won. I think it had nothing to do with like USC for the most part. So giving him back as Heisman is good publicity for the Heisman. It's the right thing to do. To your point about putting him back in commercials, he lost a lot of money because he hasn't been able to do that. But he played in the NFL, he's made money. It was the right decision. I'm glad he has it back, and now he'll get to be in those commercials.
The only I'll play, get off my lawn guy for just a second, because I do understand the opposite argument than the one that you and I are agreeing to make here.
We've made that though.
It is a potential slippery slope given all the craziness that's happening right now. If you say, guess what? You break this rule today, it's not going to matter in 10 years. So go ahead and break it. That's a tough message to send.
Well, there actually are no rules right now, so there's nothing. What rules can you break? Like what can?
I meant more actual criminal rules. But
okay,
you're right when it comes to and again, Reggie was not doing anything that we would consider genuinely criminal, harming other people. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm someone who's typically kind of a hardliner on this type of stuff. I'm absolutely not bothered by it at all. Yeah. If he had been suspended and stripped because they found him taking performance-enhancing drugs,
it'd be different.
I would be like dying on this hill, but that wasn't the case.
You gonna watch Oregon spring game this weekend?
No, they should have. They're too late. They're too late to the party. Okay,
they always do. They always do it on NFL draft weekend.
Yeah, spring football should be over for everyone right now. You got finals coming up these next 2 weeks. You got to let the players.
Not for quarter school in Oregon. There's no finals.
Oh, that's right.
They're up in June.
They're at quarters.
That's why. Yeah, we got our buddy Guy Haberman on the Colorado spring game call tomorrow night. 40 and raining in Boulder. That's miserable.
Oh. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a bad way to go.
The spring weather in the Mountain Time Zone, where the greatest sports watching time zone in the world. It's been rough this year, Geoff. I'm not going to lie.
So, well, I mean, not here in North Carolina. It's nice today. Mid 70s, a little overcast maybe. Good ball weather. Tomorrow I got double games, a softball and a baseball game. Dude, watching my kids play sports is my favorite thing ever. Tomorrow they play at the same time, basically, like a 15-minute overlap. So I'll be at the field from like 8:15 to 12. I can't wait. This is my favorite. And like the field is very contained, Sean. We're like, Emmy will be done first, and then she'll just like disappear for like an hour, like playing with friends. So just like she makes her, I say, she's she's a feral cat. She just comes back when she's hungry and needs something. She comes back home, comes back over to find when she needs something.
I actually look forward to the time when my kids are old enough for me to trust that, because I don't like being like the helicopter where when my oldest like disappears, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go find this kid, because not exactly super aware of surroundings at this point.
Yeah, look, mine are 9 and 7. Like it's a very self-contained place that they can't really go anywhere. I mean, they can, I guess, but I don't know where they would go to. But yeah, they've been like, Emmy went to Alex's game last night and just I don't know, she just would like disappear for 20 minutes, come back 20 minutes, and disappear again. And it's very fun how they like to support each other, though, go to each other's games.
Can I ask you one last question about
Yeah.
the draft? So, you're having a draft watch party, okay? I know Meredith was not in your life at that time.
No.
But Meredith, Mama Schwartz, Papa Schwartz, Mitch Schwartz are all sitting on the couch with you as you wait to hear your name called. And then you get the name called. What's the dynamic? Who gets the hug first? Who doesn't? Who gets boxed out like we saw Olufosanu's mom boxing out the girlfriend, deliberately or otherwise?
My guess is my dad would be more excited probably. He might like want the hug first, but I think I would give mom the hug first.
Okay.
Then dad. And then then probably Meredith Mitch or Mitch Meredith, like whoever would. But again, Meredith.
This is really a question about how Meredith would handle it, because does she want to be part of that photo op, or is she just like, whatever?
My wife, who doesn't care anything about anything in this, our wedding night, I signed a 4-year deal for $16 million, and she didn't even give a shit. She just was like, cool, whatever. She tells people that I was unemployed and broke at our wedding. She tells people. So like it's like she just doesn't care.
Well, Olufosanu's family gave us
I saw that
one of the great. It will live in perpetuity. It'll be
that
like
mom boxed out
lamb.
that wife,
that
girlfriend. I do have how this would be a great research project for someone to do. How many girlfriends at the time of the draft party end up being the wife?
Oh, none.
Like obviously, like Bo Nix is married, so like he's not going. His wife is there, and even like it's funny too because on the married guys, their wives don't seem like not as giddy, but not like in it for the attention of the moment sometimes.
Yes,
and it'd be fun to see like what's the rate of like, are you the girlfriend at the draft party, and 5 years later you have the ring and you're the wife? I would say it's a very low percent.
It's going to be based heavily on position, okay? Because if you're an offensive lineman, the likelihood that you have maxed out your dating potential while you're in college and that it doesn't improve when you start signing those $1 million checks, that it feels like you're probably going to be trading things in for a new model once you get to the NFL. If you're like the big man on campus star quarterback like a Bo Nix is, you've probably maxed out your dating potential, your mate potential while you're in college. So you're not looking to upgrade once you get to the NFL. I think that position group would be a big determining factor here.
I'm watching the Fashanu video again. Oh, the mom just, I mean, like she'd be perfect to set a screen in the NBA. She's like, oh my, is not letting that girlfriend.
Well, the other thing about it is you got to read the room. That you have a responsibility as the significant other, as the girlfriend in these situations, and vice versa. If we're talking about the WNBA draft, which was not so long ago, if you are the significant other, you got to know that unless you are actually married, you're lower on the priority list. It's got to be mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, siblings. It's everyone who was involved for the bulk of your journey gets the acknowledgement, the hug, the shine, and then you, right?
Well, now to be fair, the mom did hug the girlfriend immediately.
Yes, she hugs her right after she boxes her out but it's more fun to digest the clip that gets cut off before she gets any sort of love. Because she's actually physically moving herself closer to the center of the frame there. She wants to be part of this. She wants to be in the shot. And just the timing of it, you got to wait till he's done hugging mom and dad. Wait till he's done hugging whoever else was there from day one. And then it's your turn.
Yeah. There's also, they get up to take a family picture. I think she like moves out of the way. It was just smart. Like let them have the mom and dad picture first.
Yes. It's not quite as bad as the embarrassing video when it's CeeDee Lamb, right? Whose girlfriend grabs the phone and he just grabs it right back and shakes his head. And she's just like trying to shrink out of view there.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, that was probably the worst one, right?
I think that's the worst one. The other one that is super mean is the Patrick Mahomes still shot. Or no, the Russell Wilson still shot. It's the Russell Wilson still
and
shot.
Not the wife anymore.
Not the wife anymore, obviously. And we all have these photos where we just look terrible. It's like your face gets frozen at a really bad moment. And that, for that poor woman, is the thing that circulated every year around draft time.
Yeah. I just didn't have a girlfriend at the time. That's why.
Well, see, you're a perfect example of this, because if you did have a girlfriend at the time, it would not have been someone of Meredith's caliber.
No chance. There's
that's absolutely no shot.
It's actually impossible in general to have the. I know we talk a lot about her on this show we've done it for a while now. The other day, I'll give you one last one. So we bought my daughter, who's 7, summer clothes, and she wanted some Athleta, and we got her like these tank tops, right? And they're too thin to wear to school. Like the spaghetti straps too thin. So she's like, "You need to take your daughter to go buy sports bras at Dick's Sporting Goods." I go, "That's a mom thing to do."
Yeah, that's a mom thing.
She's like, "No, you're going." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Yeah, you need to go now." So I took my daughter to Dick's Sporting Goods and bought her sports bras. She's 7, just to wear underneath, by the way. And now she just wears them every day around the house.
Dang it.
So she wears a sports bra and like pajama bottoms, like tomorrow morning when she gets up that's how she'll dress downstairs. I'm like, it's not. Mom doesn't care about my feelings. She's like, you're doing this. I go, it's a mom thing to do, but it doesn't care. Meredith does not care about.
And that's the next 11 years of your life now,
buddy. It's going to be bad. It's going to be, because like, imagine there's a smaller Meredith who is like used to this life. Like Meredith has a life where like she made this life for herself, right?
Yeah.
The other one,
professional. Yeah.
The other one, like, grew up in this life. It's not going to be good.
The other one, you had already signed the $16 million contract before the other one was born. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's tough.
I mean, your girl's going to have to hear Sean O'Connell won $1 million the rest of her life.
You know what's funny is because of some of the other members of this family that we are a part of, this extended family that we're a part of, that $1 million thing is never going to be mentioned to her.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's so fantastic.
That is nice.
Like, I'm proud of my individual competitive success, but the grand scheme of things, sometimes you just get mowed right over by people who are a lot more successful. And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, man, doesn't bother me. If Meredith turns out to run the hospital, good for her. I could do less radio than I'm doing now, which would nearly be impossible.
That's not even possible. Yeah. We can't be doing less radio.
I know. It's not possible. All right, buddy.
Well, always lovely catching up. Round 2, round 3, all the way down through round 7. We'll come back next week and we'll talk about who did the best, winners, losers of the draft.
Maybe some NBA playoffs.
If you're into that kind of thing.
I mean, my team will be gone, but everyone else will still be live, maybe. Poor Lakers. Hey, no chance.
The Jazz aren't making the playoffs for like the next 5 years, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Peace.
Bye.